because parenting is challenging. Parenting is really, really difficult. And it's something that we need to practice. We're in it, we're living it every single day. So I'll just introduce myself properly to you all. So I'm Roz. Hi. Lots of you know me as Roz. Some of you know me as Miss Williamson. And I'm also a calm parent coach, helping parents to find calm in the chaos. Because there is a lot of chaos in parenting and it can be flipping challenging. There's a picture there of myself and my son, Jack. Jack's 6 and he was born in 2019. I'm a solo mum by choice, so Jack is donor conceived. I had Jack in America while I was living over there. I was teaching and living in America. And then I moved to the Middle East for a year to teach over there before returning to sunny Glossop with my little Texan cowboy, because that's where Jack was born. So, as I said, I am really, really keen on helping parents to find the calm in the chaos. And that's why I've created Raising Calm Minds. I desperately want to create a space for calm and connection and small steps that can really make a difference to you and to your families. So I've been a primary school teacher for the last 20 years and I'm still a teacher. And so many parents come into school in the mornings overwhelmed, they come in anxious, angry, frustrated. Some parents come in calmly, um, but it's heartbreaking to see as a teacher. And to put that into context, if a teacher had a class of 30 children and I gave every parent like 2 minutes in the morning, that's one whole hour. So we see you, we hear you, we feel your pain as you walk into school. And it's really, really hard as a teacher to then kind of leave you to get on with your day, knowing that you'll be carrying those feelings of whatever has happened in the morning with your child throughout the rest of the day with you. And I really understand that because I'm a parent as well. Um, and quite often, and quite honestly, a lot of mornings I will experience a full on storm at home in the morning. It could be over teeth brushing, it might be over putting shoes on, it might be wanting to go on an iPad. But then I also have to bring myself some calm before I then head into another 30 potential storms, parents and children alike. And they happen, storms happen. It's not about storms not happening, it's about how we handle the storm when they happen. And that's what I want to really help with today. Um, Storms, as I've just mentioned, are a theme that I've brought through Raising Calm Minds because when chaos happens and when tantrums happen and when we feel our emotions rising, it's like we've just gone head on straight into the middle of a storm. And quite often, we don't really know what to do about it and we don't know how to help ourselves or help our children. But the biggest thing to understand is that our calm has to come first because then our child's calm comes next. We make our children feel safe. So by calming ourselves first, that really helps our children. So today's focus that I'm very excited about is first of all like why we lose our cool, really understanding what's underneath those moments. And then I will share some teacher tested tools that I have honed and developed over my 20 years teaching career. Because what I've noticed is that a lot of the time I'll go into school and I have 30 children in a classroom. And it's really, really important to make the children in the classroom feel safe and feel cared for. And quite simply, teachers can't lose the cool and we can't blow up and shout because we would just completely lose control of the class, we'd lose control of our emotions, trust will be lost, and we have learning to facilitate as well. But then when it comes to home, when we get home from a busy day at work, quite often we don't have the capacity for our own children. We are running on empty, we don't have much patience left. And then our children feel our frustration and they feel our anger. And so we really need to try and focus on steadying ourselves so that we can stay calm in the storm. And then we'll be moving on to how to find our pause. So that's really thinking about calming ourselves down before the storm really weathers us, if that makes sense. Because parenting can often feel like weather, and I'm sure this image will resonate with a lot of you. We all have triggers. Um, Quite often, our days can feel so lovely and so calm, like this image on the left, the blue sky. We have magical moments with our children. We feel warm and fuzzy. It's the best day ever. And we feel so loved up with our children. But then it can quite quickly turn into a thunderstorm without before we even know it over nothing um, that we think is nothing, but it's massive to our children. And then that results in us both being in the middle of a storm as well. But we all have triggers. We all have triggers. And it's not about being a bad parent. It's not about being a bad parent. It's about being human. And the goal isn't to stop the storms. It's not about the absence of a storm. It's about learning to steady ourselves in the storm so that we can help our children to calm and steady as well. So I'm going to introduce you to some tools because tools are something that teachers use all of the time in the classroom. And like I said, quite often I'll use a lot of tools at school, but then they won't transfer to home. And what I've kind of done over the past year is I've started to bring my teacher tested tools into my own home environment and also suggest them to a lot of parents that I've become close to at school. And those using these tools at home really raise awareness and they really do help in the home environment as well, which is why I really want to help parents like you today. And tool one is something that is really, really powerful because it helps us to identify the storm before it arrives. It helps us to notice signals and it helps us to identify patterns that might arise that cause our bodies to flood with cortisol, sending us into the stress response because we aren't naturally in a calm state as humans. We're wired to react and to protect. And so whenever our body can do that, it can happen quite quickly. So it's really important that we notice those triggers before um, we end up in a giant argument or shouting or snapping at our children because it feels horrific, doesn't it, when we snap or when we shout, and the guilt that follows is just horrendous. Quite often, and I'm sure it's the same for you, that guilt can carry you like throughout the whole entire day, and it doesn't leave you, and it can, it can really affect you mentally throughout the day until you kind of get home and see that your child's had the best day ever at school. Um, so what I want you to do, and this isn't going to feel pleasant, it's not going to feel comfortable, is I just want you to just maybe close your eyes and I want you to just think about the last time that you snapped at your child or your children. And again, it's human, we're all normal, everybody loses our cool. But I just want you to just think about the last time that you snapped at your children. And I want you to think about what was happening in that moment. I also want you to think about the sensations in your body because I know that when I am triggered by something and my body is either in fight, flight, or freeze mode, which is our stress response. I can feel it across my stomach, I can feel it in my chest. I sometimes get a headache. I quite often will clench my jaw when I'm talking to my son. Um, and that's my body trying to get regulated, and it's the fact that I'm in fight mode at that point. Um, so an example of one of my triggers, when I almost snapped at my son yesterday morning, was we were about to go to school and he would not put his shoes on. I knew that I had to go and teach. I knew that time was running out and it was a battle. Please put your shoes on. I need you to put your shoes on. And I'm thinking, oh, time's running out. I need to get to school. I'm going to be late. I can't be late. I've got all these children. It's my responsibility to teach these children, and I can't walk in last. Um, and as I was doing that, and as I'm talking now, I can feel my whole body is filling with that stress feeling again. Um, so if you could just pop in the chat a time when you felt that you last snapped, and if you can kind of identify that that trigger that happened. I know a lot of time when I speak to parents, it's over things like homework battles, it's bedtimes, it's brushing teeth. Um, so I'd be really interested to just see what you find is your trigger, or when you last snapped, yeah, not tidying his room. That's definitely one that makes the hairs on my neck stand up a little bit as well. 15 times. Couldn't work the college IT system, getting frustrated. Yeah, definitely, Sarah, being awkward. Time's running out. Oh, getting dressed, Maria. Yeah, feel your pain there. So you've already identified so many different triggers, and what's really important with triggers is that we also, yeah, I get the sweating feeling. I think that's perimenopause as well. The joys. Um, Lost shoes, yeah. Listening. And quite often, when we think our children aren't listening, it's that they don't have those listening skills yet. So they can hear us, but they're not actively listening. Getting son out of bed. Oh, yeah, I know they're getting out of bed, struggle big time. Siblings falling out. Now, I've got an only child, but I do know that the sibling rivalry from being one of three myself is hard. I kind of want to write an apology letter to my mum and dad quite a lot. Okay, so with these triggers, um, it's really important to identify them yourself, and it's also a really good tool to use with your children as well to identify these patterns of when these storms might arise. This is something that I use at school all the time. I use this every day. I write down, and I'm just going to move on to my next slide, my top three triggers. And this is a tool that I've created for you. And I asked you to bring a notepad and pen to this session. So if you want to just write on your piece of paper now, if you just want to write down what you think are your top three triggers, really kind of get into that moment, take yourselves back. I can feel tension in my shoulders already just talking about it. Because once you start to track your triggers, you've got more chance of steadying yourselves and bringing yourselves back to calm. And that's what the goal is. It's not about the absence of these tricky moments, it's about being able to steady yourself and stay calm so that you can then help your children. So once you've written your top three triggers, try doing that every day for like the course of a week, because you'll really start to see a pattern arising. And because I've been doing this, and again, it's a tool that I've transferred from the classroom to home. When Jack wouldn't put his shoes on, Jack's my little boy's name, he's amazing, but bouncy and challenging and energetic. When he wouldn't, oh, eye rolls, yeah, I'm seeing that as well. When he wouldn't put his shoes on, I could feel a feeling in my body like I was just going to blow, like, put your shoes on, we need to go, because that's what's happened in the past. But I wouldn't do that with any of the children at school in the classroom. So, how is it fair for my own child, like the most precious thing in the world to me, who I love more than like all the moon, all the stars? And it was one of those things that I was like, no, something's got to shift here. Something has to shift to make home life easier and calmer. And so, because I'd done that and because I'd identified that mornings and putting on shoes or getting dressed was a big trigger for me that really caused me stress, I was able to think, okay, so I'm going to be one step ahead. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause. And that's another tool that I'm going to show you next, tool two. Um, but instead of blowing up at Jack, I actually went to my next calm tool that I've created and I used it, and it allowed me to prevent the storm. And what I actually ended up doing was bringing myself back to calm in that moment, which is really hard, especially because we go from 0 to 100. And I was able to then turn it into a game. And once I was calm, and I took myself into the kitchen to be calm, but you can do it in front of your child because you are their role model. And modeling bringing yourself back to calm is a really, really powerful thing with your children. Um, but when I was calm, I came back to Jack and I said, oh, I bet I can get my shoes on quicker than you. And then it turned into a game. I gamified it, which then straight away, as a 6-year-old does, was like, no, you can't. I'm going to get my shoes on first. But had I not stopped and paused and brought myself back to calm, I would have shouted at him. And then I would have gone to a school to, well, I'm teaching as a supply teacher at the moment after being full time for the last 20 years. Um, but I would have gone into that school already feeling quite stressed because it's a new school to me. I don't know the parents, I don't know the children, I don't know the staff. And I would have had this huge cloud of guilt just hanging over me all day, knowing that I've just like screamed at my own child. Um, so it's really important that you try and track your triggers. And I'm going to send you a free copy of this at the end of the session so you can have a go at using it. If you prefer writing in a notebook, that's absolutely fine, or on paper. Um, but I think you'll find it quite interesting. As I said, it's really important to bring ourselves back to calm. So that might have felt quite difficult thinking about those things that trigger us. Like I said, I can still feel that like I get the tension in my neck. I don't know if anybody else does. I know Sarah does. um, But this is my next tool, and this is the blue rectangle that you can see in the middle of this screen is actually one of my cards that I've created. Um, it's one of 20 cards that I've created as a deck, and they are for us to use as parents. Some of them are for co-regulation, but a lot of them are for us to use in the storm. Um, so that we can bring ourselves back to calm, back to ourselves. And this is one of 20 like ever evolving cards that I've created. And this one is the heart pause. So before I fully explain what this does, I want us to just try it together. So if you can just put your hand on your chest. And then I want you to take one slow breath in. So we'll close our eyes when we do this. And then I want us to say, I'm doing my best. So I want us to reply to ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to close our eyes. We're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out again. I'm doing my best. You are doing your best. We are all doing our best with the resources that we have. Now, I just want you to notice the feeling now in your body. Like I can already sense that my shoulders have dropped. And what's happened is by putting my hand on my heart and breathing in and out again, I've interrupted my stress response. I've calmed my nervous system and I've brought myself back to calm. And this is something that I use in the classroom quite a lot because, as you can imagine, when you've got 30 children, Miss Williamson, I can't do this. I'm stuck on this. I don't want to do this. Such and such has just hit me. Um, I don't want to. I can't. That's when, as a teacher, you can feel the cortisol flooding your body. So I just want you to try that again on your own. Hand on your chest. I've still got mine on my chest because it's just that comforting touch, isn't it? It's like a little bit of a hug as well. I want you to just close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out, and just say, I'm doing my best. And then if you can just pop a word in the chat about the sensations that you notice in your body now compared to when you were noticing your triggers and thinking about those triggers. Does your body feel different? Do you feel calmer? Just quite interesting to see. Calm and relaxed, yeah. Calmer. It is a great pattern to interrupt. Less judgmental, yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, that's just one simple tool, really simple tool on my simple card, but it has a massive impact on your body and it helps you to regulate, which is so important before you then go and approach your children. So when I was talking earlier about Jack and his shoes, this is exactly what I went into the kitchen to do. So I actually went into flight mode a little bit because I wanted to get away from that space before I blew up and went into fight mode. And then once I'd calmed down and we've noticed that we have more space, we feel more relaxed, I was then able to come back to Jack, turn it into a game. I bet I can put my shoes on quicker than you. And then off we popped out the door, happier than it could have been because it could have been awful. And, teachers lose the cool as well. And that's why it's really, really important to understand these things, to take the control back, so that we have a better day because we all deserve it. Um, you're all amazing. You are all enough, and you are all worthy of being a calm parent and turning up for yourself and your children. Um, but this card is also really, really good to use in those trigger moments. So, for example, if I had done my heart pause, I could do my hand on my chest, I could breathe in and out, and then I could reply with something like, please wait a minute, I'm just talking to my friend. So you're in a calmer space rather than just saying, stop interrupting me, don't interrupt me. I've told you to stop interrupting me. I'm talking to such and such. Because that straight away is making this stress feeling in our bodies again. And that then will ricochet onto your child because humans mirror humans. That's our nature as well. It's part of our biology. And our children can sense the tension and they can sense that projection in us as well. So before you reply to your child, if you can feel that you've been triggered, have a go at doing the heart pause and then reply to your child. Can you think of any situations or instances where this might work for you? So, for example, my brain goes straight away to brushing teeth um, because I'll say to Jack, you need to brush your teeth now. It's bedtime, and then nothing. Jack, you need to brush your teeth. It's bedtime, and the more you say it, the more you get in this. So then I will put my hand on my heart, and this time, if it's in front of Jack in the bathroom, I'll name it. I'll say I'm starting to feel frustrated, so I'm going to pause, and I'll do that in front of him, and I'll go, when you've brushed your teeth, then we can read a book. Because when and then is really powerful. And it's something that I use all the time in the classroom, but it doesn't always come naturally in the moment at home when I need him to get his teeth brushed, get into bed so I can actually have some me time. Um, because as a single mum, that's something that I don't get a lot of. But even if you're not a single parent, and you do have somebody to tag out with, quite often there can also be tension between you and your other half as well as you and your children. And this helps with that as well. So, all of these things help us to find our way back to calm, which is the most important thing, as I've said. Triggers are normal. Say that to yourself now. Triggers are normal. You are human. You are a parent. Parenting is challenging, but the heart pause really helps you to find that space before you react. And there is a huge difference in responding and reacting. And that's something as a teacher that you really have to be like hyper aware of, because in a classroom when it's noisy and you're overstimulated and you're running on empty at the end of the day, it would be so easy to react. Um, but you have to choose to respond, and you can choose to respond by using things like the heart pause card that I've created, that I will send you out as a freebie, as well as the trigger tracker at the end of this session. Let me just move on to my next slide. There's lots of really interesting comments in the chat as well that I can see. It'll help you pause and remember that he's only little. Yeah, they are only little. And actually, children's logical brains aren't developed yet. They react with their emotional brain straight away. But it's really hard to remember that when they are so familiar to us, when we are immersed in it all the time. And when we've got our own struggles and when we're not regulated. Um, so our next steps after this session, because as I said, this is part one of a two-part free workshop series, and if you found it useful, I'm sure you'll love the next one. It's Staying Steady in the Storm, where I'll introduce you to some more of my favourite teacher-tested tools that will help you return to calm. As I said, I have at the moment ever-evolving deck of 20, plus another 20 years experience behind me as well, just to help you to stay grounded when everything feels so chaotic. Because that's been, like such an intrinsic motivation for me, seeing parents wanting to help parents as a parent as well as their children. So I'm your teacher, I'm here for you. And I want to help you to learn these simple tools so that you can stay calm in the middle of the storm. So look out for my email later today, or this evening rather, not today. If you're in Bahrain, not really sure what time it is. It's so nice that I've got people from all over the world join me tonight. Um, but look out for my email, and it will have those free tools in there for you, the trigger tracker and the heart pause card for you to have a go at. And I can't wait to hear about it in our next session and see if they've actually helped you. If you see me on the school run in the mornings, if you're one of Jack's you know peers' parents, it's a bit of a mouthful, then let me know in the playground how it's gone. I'm sure Eleanor will, Ella. And I'd love to know as well what you've found most helpful in today's session. So if you could just drop me a comment in the session, because your reflections will just help me to shape my future sessions so that I can make them really, really powerful. I really want to help you, and you can do this. You've got this. You're strong parents, and your children love you, and you love your children. So, thank you for coming, and I will see you in your next session. Bye bye. Thank you too. Oh, some lovely comments. You are welcome. You're definitely not the only ones facing the tough moments. Bye, Maria. You're welcome. Anytime. Thanks, Kate. It's lovely to see you. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Kia. Bye. Absolutely no problem. You're welcome. Bye, Suzanne. I'm so glad you joined me. Can't see your lovely face, but I know you're here.